All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the American Family Insurance DreamBank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. My name is Jenna, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. For those of you who are familiar with DreamBank, welcome back. And for those that are joining us for the first time, welcome. Here at American Family Insurance, we believe communities are stronger and the future is brighter when people are actively pursuing their dreams. That's why we created DreamBank, an inspirational community destination and digital experience dedicated to dreamers everywhere. From our daily event series to immersive signature programs, there's something for every dreamer. Our offerings are designed to help you celebrate the dream journey, overcome obstacles, and stay motivated. Now, let's shift the focus from DreamBank and myself to the highlight of today's event. It's my honor to introduce our esteemed speaker, Erin McVan. Erin McVan is the founder of McVan Learning, where she works as a learning and development consultant, leadership coach, and facilitator of leadership development workshops. With over 8 years of experience coaching leaders at all levels, Erin is passionate about helping leaders develop the most essential skills that allow them to be successful. Erin has dedicated her career to helping people achieve their goals, build their skills and competencies, and reach their potential. In the chat, I will be sharing some resources from Erin, and these are yours to use during the session. And with that, welcome, Erin. We're delighted to have you with us. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Jenna, for that introduction. And thank you to the DreamBank team for having me today and inviting me to host this event. I'm really excited about where we're heading and where we'll dive in with the content today. And I hope all of you are as well. So, of course, today's session is called Fulfilling Dreams, Crafting a Personal Development Blueprint for Success. So, if you're here today, you signed up for this event, more than likely you have some kind of goal or dream that you are looking to go after, something that you want to achieve. And that looks different for all of us, right? So maybe you work for an organization and you're looking for a promotion. Maybe you want a completely different job. Maybe you want to start your own business. Maybe you have a business and you're looking to take it to the next level. Maybe there's something you want to do in your community or something with volunteer or nonprofit work, right? We all have different goals and dreams that we want to go after. And we're all likely at different places as well. So some of us maybe are just getting started on those goals that we have. Maybe you don't know where to start right now. Maybe you have been working on something for a while and you feel like you're just spinning your wheels and you're not really making progress. Wherever you're at, today's session is going to help you in narrowing down your focus and getting you on the right path forward, making sure that you're focusing on the right goal for you. So, when we talk about a personal development blueprint, what we're really talking about is a personal development plan. And so, Jenna had referenced that she was dropping some resources in the chat for you. One of those is a personal development plan that you can use as we walk through the content today, something that you can keep and use over and over again in the future. And then also a SMART goals template. And that is something that I'll reference in a little bit as well. Again, something that you can keep and use over and over again in the future as well. So the process that we walk through today is the same process that I use with my leadership coaching clients whenever they are looking to achieve something big. They have a big goal or a dream, something that they're going after. And it's also the same process that I used when I was looking to leave my full-time corporate job and start McVan Learning. So I'll weave some of my own story into this with some examples as well. But the process that we walk through is something that I've used over and over again, both for myself and for the people that I coach. So I know that this is something that can help you today as well. So first and foremost, what is a personal development plan and why do we need one? So a personal development plan is the tangible action plan that you put in place for yourself to make sure that you're able to achieve what it is that you would like to go after. So you start by setting your goal. You're going to evaluate your strengths and your areas of opportunity. You're going to assess what skills and knowledge you need to develop or acquire. You're going to put action steps in place. And that is going to be the plan that holds you accountable and puts everything that you need to do on paper So that way you feel more motivated to do it. You have a plan in place and you're able to hold yourself accountable. The reason that we need one is because if we don't set a plan for ourselves, if we don't take the time to write a goal and put an effective plan in place, we're much less likely to achieve anything. So if we don't take that time and that opportunity to really think about what we need to do and what's going to get us to where we need to be, come up with those action steps and then take action, again, we're a lot less likely to achieve anything. So that's why this is so important. And that's why we will focus on that today. Now, when you're just getting started and you are trying to figure out where you want to go, how are you going to narrow down your focus? Maybe you have this really big idea or this really big dream, and you're just not sure where to start or where to go from here. So the first thing that I want to talk through here is finding the sweet spot. So what I mean by that is when you have this really big idea, this really big dream, and you want to make sure that it's the right area for you to focus on, the right path for you to go down, you can go through this exercise that I call finding the sweet spot. And I'm going to walk you through how this works right now. So, when you have this goal in mind, the first thing that you want to do is make sure that this is something that you would consider personal growth for yourself. This is where that motivation factor comes in. Is this something that you feel is going to be meaningful for you? Is this meaningful work for you? Is it something that you're going to be passionate about? Is it something that you feel like is going to help build your skills and help develop your skills? Things like that, right? So we want it to be personal growth for you. The next aspect is that you want it to be something that's going to hit on your current strengths and talents. So, what are the skills that you already have? What knowledge do you already have? What are your strengths and talents? What are you good at that can help you be successful and achieve this goal? And then the third aspect is an identified need. So when I talk about an identified need, what I mean here is let's use a corporate example real quick because most of the leaders that I work with are in some type of corporate environment. So an identified need would be, hey, we have identified that we need learning and development because that's what I do, right? So we need a learning and development team in our company. And that's something that this person has experience in. And so, okay, we're going to have this person take on this project of getting learning and development up and running in this company, right? Or if you're looking to start a business, so who is your audience or who are your consumers and what is a need that they have that you are going to help fulfill? What is a gap that you are filling for your audience or for your consumers who would buy your products or your services? And so those are the three aspects that we want to look at as we're thinking about, is this goal right for me? And then what happens if you are thinking about a goal and you're like, okay, well, this is something that I would consider to be personal growth for myself. And it's something that hits on my current strengths and talents, but there's not an identified need. Well, now there's personal value. It's something that feels good for you, but there's not a benefit to others. So if we look at this in a corporate sense, right? So let's say somebody wants to go after a certification, and the certification is something that they're really excited about. They want to do it, and it plays into their strengths and talents, but it's not something that's going to be useful in their current job or at the current organization that they work for. That identified need is missing. So it's going to be harder to then do anything with, okay, you achieve the goal of the certification. Well, now what? Now, are you looking for another job at a different organization because you can't use it at your current organization, right? So we want to make sure there's a benefit to others and looking at it as if you're starting a business. Well, if there's not an audience or there's not consumers that need what it is that you're offering, then it's not likely to be successful, right? So we need to make sure that that identified need piece is there as well. Now, if you are going after something that you consider to be personal growth for yourself and you have identified a need there, but it's not something where you have strengths, talents, skills, knowledge, right? It's something maybe you don't have any experience in, you don't have any transferable skills. Well, now it's something that is a huge stretch and it's too much to learn. And so this is where goals become much more daunting and overwhelming and unattainable because it's such a huge ask to be able to learn everything that you need to learn in order to achieve that goal. And so maybe that's a long-term goal. Maybe that is a goal down the road. What are the right things to focus on right now? So if that's your end goal, what are your goals right now that will help get you there? Because right now, that's going to be too much of a stretch. And then if you are focused on something that hits on your strengths and talents and it hits on an identified need, but it's not something you would consider personal growth, then this is where there's value to others, but there's no value to yourself. And so this isn't going to feel as meaningful. You're not going to feel as passionate about it. It's not going to be as exciting as other things that you could do. And so this, a lot of examples that I see come up in this area in the corporate world would be your boss says, hey, we have this project I'd like you to work on, or we have this thing that I want you to do because you've done this before, right? So it's something where you have experience and clearly the organization needs it, but it's not something that you enjoy doing. You want to go a different direction with your career, right? So for you, it's more of a chore to have to do that, right? And so we want to make sure that all three of these areas come together. So it's something that you feel is personal growth, it hits on your strengths and talents, and there's an identified need. And that is what we consider the sweet spot. So when you have all three of those areas coming together, then you know that you are focusing on the right thing. And so again, when you have this really big idea or this big dream, it can help you to start to narrow down your focus this way. And then once you've done that and you've narrowed down your focus, now it's time to set the right goal. Because just because you have narrowed down your focus now and you've found the sweet spot doesn't mean that your goal is tangible and ready to go after, right? So now you have to go through the process of writing out your goal. So to bring this all together with an example, because sometimes this can sound a little bit abstract as I talk through it. For me, thinking back to way back in the beginning before McVan Learning was a thing, I said, I want to quit my full-time job. And so my husband said, okay, great. What does that mean? So for me, it was all these things in my head, right? I had a baby and I wanted more work-life balance. I wanted to be able to spend more time with my baby, right? There were all these things going on. I wanted to quit my full-time job, but I also didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. Props to anyone who can be a stay-at-home parent and love it, because that is some hard work. So I knew that I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom full-time. I wanted to do something, right? But I just didn't want to work in my full-time corporate job anymore at that time. So I went through the process of, okay, well, what does that mean? And what does that look like? So if we look at it like this, right? Okay, what is something that plays on my strengths and talents? Okay, well, I have been working in learning and development for a long time. I have a lot of experience developing programs, facilitating, leadership coaching, right? These are all things that I'm good at. What's something that would be considered personal growth for me? Well, starting a business. That is not something that I had done before. And I felt like that would be something that I could be really passionate and excited about. And then an identified need, well, the learning and development work that I was doing in full-time corporate jobs is something that is needed at a lot of organizations. And so I knew that that was something that I could offer as a consultant or a contractor. And so that helped me narrow down my focus there, right? So personal growth, strengths and talents, identified need. All right, cool. I think I want to start a business focused on learning and development, being a learning and development consultant and a leadership coach. And so this really helped me narrow down, okay, I have this big idea that I want to quit my full-time job, but what does that mean? So narrow down my focus a little bit more. But then from there, I needed a tangible goal. I needed something that I could track, something that could help hold me accountable, right? So that's where SMART goals come into play. So maybe you've heard of SMART goals before, maybe you haven't. I'm going to touch on each of the elements of a SMART goal to just help walk through what exactly this means. And then you also, again, have that SMART goals template as a resource that Jenna had put in the chat for you to download. And that is something that will be really helpful for you as you work through narrowing down your goal as well. So when we talk about SMART goals are specific. And the reason that we need them to be specific is because if we write a goal that is too vague or it's too broad, then it's a lot harder to really understand, first of all, what we need to do in order to achieve that goal, then to know when we've achieved that goal, right? So I want to quit my full-time job. Again, it's very broad, it's very vague. What does that mean? Where am I going? What am I doing? How am I going to quit my job? So we need to narrow down more and make sure our goals are specific. And on that SMART goals template that you have, there are some questions that you can ask yourself that can help you get to that point and making sure that your goal is specific. We also want to make sure that our goals are measurable. So when we say that our goals are measurable, this essentially means that we have a way of tracking our goals and knowing when they're complete. So sometimes this is really easy. You might have a number or a metric that you can look at. So it could be something like, a revenue goal or customer satisfaction scores, right? Those are numbers that are easy to track and keep an eye on. But it's not always that clear cut. Not every goal is going to have a clear number or metric that you can track. And that's okay as long as you're clearly defining what success looks like. Sometimes it is as simple as completing the goal, right? But having something defined, milestones, whatever it might be, that's going to help you stay motivated, keep you on track, let you know exactly where you are, what you still need to do, and then be able to celebrate once you get to that end goal. We also need to make sure that our goals are achievable. So, when we talk about our goals being achievable, we know that we want them to stretch us a little bit, right? That's where that personal growth comes into play. We want to make sure that the goal is going to stretch us a little bit. It's going to be development for us, it's motivating, right? But we don't want it to be such a stretch that it becomes unattainable, it's super frustrating, right? We want to avoid that. So, this is where, if you think about it in terms of the sweet spot that I was talking about, if it's something that there is an identified need and you feel like it's personal growth, but it's not playing on your current strengths and talents, then that's where it can become unachievable because it's too much to learn right now. We also want to make sure that our goals are relevant. So, to use a corporate example here, if you have all employees in a company moving in one direction, right? They're all moving towards the same common team goals and company goals. And then you've got one employee who's going off in a totally different direction. That is not a relevant goal. It's not an effective use of time, right? So we need to make sure our goals are relevant. And if you think about it again in terms of the sweet spot, this is where if it's something that plays on your strengths and talents and you consider it to be personal growth for yourself, but there's not an identified need, then that's where that goal is not relevant because it's not meeting a need, it's not filling a gap, there's no audience, whatever it is, that piece is missing. And then the last part, we need our goals to be time bound. And so this means setting a deadline. So if we don't set a deadline for our goals, we can just keep kicking them down the road, right? And we never actually achieve them because we keep putting it off and putting it off. So we set a deadline for ourselves. That way we stay motivated to achieve the goal. And this can look like, again, milestones along the way. Maybe it's a really big goal and the deadline is really far out. So you're going to set some milestones to keep yourself on track, but there has to be some kind of deadline to keep you on track. So, thinking about where I started at the beginning of this with I want to quit my full-time job, going through this exercise of making sure I have a SMART goal. So that template that I provided to you, the SMART goals template, is the same template or worksheet that I worked through as I was trying to write a goal for myself, because there's a series of questions on that first page, and then you can write your goal on the second page. So you work through that series of questions. It helps to get you to narrow down your focus. It helps to make sure you're hitting on all the pieces of a SMART goal. And then for me, it looked like this: sign enough learning and development clients to replace my current income and quit my full-time job by the end of 2022. So of course, this is backdated because we're talking in the past. So I went from this really big idea of wanting to quit my full-time job down to this goal: sign enough learning and development clients to replace my income, quit my full-time job by the end of 2022. And this hit on all of those pieces of a SMART goal. Again, it hit the sweet spot because this is about starting a business, and it's playing on the strengths that I already had. And I know that there's a need in organizations for the type of work that I do. So this helped me to narrow it down. So hopefully that helps it feel a little bit less abstract as you think about finding the sweet spot and writing a SMART goal for yourself. This is also something that at the time felt really big and overwhelming to me, right? Not all goals need to be this this big, right? It could be something smaller. It could be something that feels more achievable right now. I go through this process with goals that, the deadline might be 2 to 3 months out, right? So this process doesn't have to just be for really big goals. It can be for smaller goals as well. So once you have found the sweet spot, you've narrowed down your focus, you've got a SMART goal written for yourself. Now that's when the personal development plan comes into play. So I did want to just mention real quick, I saw that there's some things happening in the chat, and I wanted to just mention that I will have time for questions at the end as well. So if you're asking questions in there, I'm not ignoring you. We will get there. So if you have questions, feel free to throw them in there and we'll get to those. Okay, so the personal development plan, this is the second resource that Jenna had dropped in the chat for you, is a personal development plan template. So this is also something that you can use over and over again anytime you have a new goal and you need to put a new plan in place for yourself. So I'll walk through each of the steps of the personal development plan so that you feel confident completing it for yourself, filling out that plan, and getting, again, that really solid action plan in place for yourself so you know how to move forward and how to get yourself on the right path in order to achieve that dream or goal. So step one is the SMART goal. So you go through that process that we just did, and then you take your SMART goal and you put it on your personal development plan. So we stick mine on there. This is also a place where you can put milestones for yourself. So because my goal was over a year out when I originally wrote it, I did break it down into milestones. I didn't include all of them here, but just to give you some examples of what that could look like. So a couple of milestones that I had were I wanted to sign my first client by March of 2022, and I wanted to be halfway to my income goal by July of 2022. So those were some milestones that I had set for myself, because this helps to really make it feel less overwhelming when you do have something that's far out or feels really big. And then you can celebrate those smaller wins along the way, because those things are just as exciting as achieving the goal, right? We don't want to get so wrapped up in that end goal that we don't enjoy all the things that happen along the way. So setting milestones can be really helpful, and you can include them right there with your SMART goal. Step two is to evaluate your strengths. So, what are the things that you are already really good at? What skills and knowledge do you already have, right? So, this is something that you already started thinking about as you were trying to narrow down your focus onto the sweet spot. So, what are those strengths, talents, the skills and knowledge, the things that you are already really good at that are going to help you as you work to achieve this goal? So, to share an example, again, some of the things that I was thinking about as I was putting my plan in place, I had several years of experience in learning and development, the leadership coaching certification. I have several training facilitation certifications. I enjoy building relationships. I'm organized. I'm able to juggle multiple projects at once. These are all things that I felt would help me as I work toward achieving that goal of starting my own business. Then on the flip side, you want to evaluate your opportunities. So when you evaluate your opportunities, I don't use the word weaknesses. I don't like the word weaknesses. I encourage you to just take it out of your vocabulary and never use it. And here's why. Because it's not a weakness. It is an area where you have an opportunity to learn more. So look at it like that instead of looking at it like a weakness. So what are your areas of opportunity? What things do you need to learn? What things do you need to know in order to be able to achieve that goal? So some things that I had thought about at the time, I had absolutely no idea where to find clients. No clue. Google, I don't know. I had no idea how to build a website. That was not something I had ever needed to do before. I had very limited marketing knowledge. I never worked in marketing. I had no idea about tax implications or anything else related to accounting and finance, starting, being self-employed, no clue. And I had no sales experience, never worked in a sales position before, but yet here I was saying that I wanted to find clients, right? So these were all areas of opportunity for me and areas where I knew I had a lot to learn in order to be successful. So step 4 is to assess your knowledge and skills. So when I say assess your knowledge and skills, what skills and knowledge do you either need to develop further? Maybe, you would consider yourself a novice and you need to be an expert, or maybe there's skills and knowledge you don't have right now and you need to acquire them. You can use what you just filled out in the areas of opportunity to help guide you as you think about the skills and knowledge that you need to acquire. So coming back to my example, some things that I was thinking about, after I filled out my areas of opportunity, I needed sales and marketing skills. I needed prospective client relationship building skills. I knew how to build relationships, but I had never done it in the sense of trying to make someone my client. I needed to learn how to close the sale because, again, not something I ever had to do before. I needed some social media marketing skills, some website building skills, and then basic business accounting. So I didn't just completely, tank my family's finances with this venture that I wanted to go on. So these were all things that I identified as skills and knowledge that I needed to acquire in order to be successful. And then step 5, plan to acquire those skills. So, how are you going to go about developing or acquiring that knowledge and the skills that you need to be successful? And there are many ways that you can do this, right? But some ideas for you. So, I have 3 different categories on here. The first category is formal learning. So, that would be something like online learning, whether it's LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, those are some of the big ones, places where you can find online courses to take. Then there's instructor-led sessions. And so a lot of times, like community colleges, for example, will have in-person, like professional development type sessions. I know that DreamBank has some in-person things like that. And so any of those instructor-led sessions that you can find, self-study. So this would be like reading books, reading articles and blogs, listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, anything like that would be considered self-study. Seminars or conferences in the area that you're focused on, or webinars or virtual events like what we're doing right now. Then there's learning from others. So this would be things like finding a mentor, somebody who's done what you're looking to do that can help mentor you along the way, getting feedback from your leader, your peers, people that you work with, your potential audience, right? Gaining feedback, getting ongoing coaching. So finding a coach who is skilled in what you would like to do and has had success that can coach you along the way, similar to a mentor, right? Observation. So having somebody observe you doing what it is that you'd like to do. So for me, this would look like, in the beginning of my career, when I wanted to start facilitating, having somebody come observe me and then give me feedback. Job shadowing, so going and observing somebody else. So again, that would look like me going and observing another facilitator to learn what they do and pick up some tips from them. Networking, of course, and then learning from experience. So this could look like things like new job assignments, developmental or stretch assignments, experiences outside of work in the community and with volunteering, things like that. Cross training, job rotations. So these are all different ways that you can acquire skills. And this is certainly not an exhaustive list, but this is a place that will hopefully help give you some ideas and get you started as you think about how are you going to go about building those skills. So then coming back to my plan. So some of the things that I had identified for myself, I wanted to find a mentor or a coach by February of 2022 who is doing or has done something similar to what I wanted to do and had success. Identify one or two entrepreneurial or sales and marketing focused podcasts and begin listening by January. Identify one or two entrepreneurial books and read them by April, or listen to them because I had more time to listen since I had a baby at the time. Find courses online or in person to take. And then, so on here, I put timeline and number of courses dependent upon courses identified. So this, this would depend on what you're able to find in that's local to you or online. How many courses do you want to take? What's your budget, right? That all comes into play. So that last bullet, I would recommend making more specific, but for the sake of today, I left it a little bit open because that's where I was at the time that I wrote this plan. I had no idea what was even available to me as far as taking courses. And then step 6 is defining additional actions. So all of the things that you need to do to achieve your goal are not going to fit nicely into the boxes of acquiring skills, right? So, what are the action steps that you need to take in order to achieve your goal? And all of that can fall into this step 6, which is define those additional actions. So some examples of things that I had defined on my plan. I wanted to update my personal LinkedIn page, wanted to reach out to contacts who could become potential clients or refer me to potential clients, attend local networking events, create a website and business social media pages, find a business accountant, because that was something that at some point I realized I wasn't going to learn all the things I needed to know, and I needed to pull in an expert to help me, which is totally fine, right? If there's something that feels something that feels overwhelming, or something that feels like you don't want to put all your time into learning that, find somebody who can help you. And then create a time management plan to balance everything, because I knew that at some point that was going to start feeling overwhelming as well. So this is not an exhaustive list of all the things that I had defined on my action steps, but again, there's a snapshot of some of the things that I knew that I needed to do in order to achieve my goal. And I also recommend putting deadlines on those, because that is going to, again, help you stay on track and help you to celebrate those small wins along the way and know exactly where you're at and how much you've accomplished and how much you have left to do. So far, we have talked about narrowing down, finding the sweet spot. We talked about writing out a SMART goal, making sure it's the right goal for you, and then defining that personal development plan, which is putting all those actions into place. What are the things that you need to do in order to achieve your goal and be successful? Then the most important piece is to take action, right? Because if you take the time to put your plan in place, but then you don't follow through on all of the things that you defined on your plan, you're not going to achieve that goal. So don't let this be a waste of time. This is something that I like to say at the end of every session that I facilitate. First of all, is don't let this hour that you just spent here be a waste of time, right? So when you leave, don't just delete those resources that I provided to you and never look at them again. You want to use those. Use that SMART goal template over and over. Anytime you're writing a goal for yourself, use that personal development plan template over and over every time you have a new goal and you need to put a new plan in place. And then don't let that work be a waste of time either. If you've gone through the steps of writing a goal for yourself and writing a personal development plan, don't let that be a waste of time. Hold yourself accountable and take action to work towards achieving that goal. So your next steps after today are to write your SMART goal. Or if you need to go through that process again of finding the sweet spot, you do that first, and then you write your SMART goal. Then create your personal development plan. Then I recommend finding an accountability partner, either an accountability partner or a mentor or a coach, right? Sometimes this is budget dependent. An accountability partner can look like a friend or a family member, somebody who do this for you for free, right? Somebody that you can check in with or that can check on you to hold you accountable for following through on your plan. That outside influence can sometimes be so much more effective than holding ourselves accountable. When you know that there's somebody that's going to ask you if you hit a deadline on a certain thing, sometimes that's way more motivating to do that thing than just telling yourself that you need to do it. So find an accountability partner or somebody who can hold you accountable. Begin taking the actions defined in your plan. Take action. Start chipping away at all the things that you listed out that you know that you need to do to achieve your goal. Revisit your plan frequently and adjust where needed. It is very rare that things will just nicely fall into place and you check everything off and there's no hiccups along the way, right? So don't feel bad coming back to your plan and changing things and adjusting things as time goes on. And on that same note, work through the barriers and challenges that come up and don't get discouraged. This is huge. This is one of the most important pieces here, because anytime we set out to achieve something, especially when it's something really big, it's not likely to just go exactly as we've planned it. There's going to be things that come up. There's going to be setbacks and roadblocks and issues. And I mean, you name it, right? Anything can happen. So working through that, building that resiliency and being able to push through when those challenges come up, that makes that end goal, when you achieve that goal, feel so much better, right? You feel so much more accomplished because you pushed through, you didn't give up. When it gets hard, don't just throw it all away, right? Keep pushing. And then celebrate those small wins and milestones along the way. I've said that a few times, but this can make all the difference in helping you stay motivated and keeping everything in perspective. Because again, if you're just work, and just focused on what you're trying to get to at the very end, it can feel really overwhelming and you don't enjoy it as much. So if you can take the time to pause and look at how far you've come and look at the things that you've accomplished along the way and celebrate those smaller wins, it can make a huge world of difference in keeping your mindset in the right place that you need it to be in order to keep going. Okay, so the resources that you have from today's session that I have mentioned several times, but just want to call it out again. So you have the SMART goal template. So again, that is something that has a series of questions on the front page that help you to think about what it is that you want to accomplish and help you think through all the elements of a SMART goal. So that's going to help, again, narrow down your focus and make sure that the goal that you're writing for yourself is hitting on all of the elements of a SMART goal. Then you have your personal development plan. So again, that is a template that you can also use over and over again to put your action plan in place. And then the recording will be on the DreamBank YouTube at some point as well. So you can always come back to this and rewatch it if you would like. So those are all the resources that you have coming out of today. And at this point, we can open it up for questions. So I see that there is a lot happening in the chat.
Erin, yeah, there were a few people who could not access the resources. So I will go ahead and make sure those get sent out in a post-event email. So if you were not able to access them, just know that you will be getting an email with all of the resources as well.
Thank you, Jenna. Jenna, did you happen to notice, I'm trying to scroll through, did you see if there were any questions in here, or is this all about the materials?
I think it was mostly about the materials, but let's see, I think Pam just sent through a question here. She said, how often do you review the development plan? What do you do when you do not hit a specific deadline you set? And would you just readjust your plan each time?
Great questions. Okay, so how often you review the development plan is going to depend on your deadline, right? So if you're looking at something like a year out and you've got milestones each month, for example, checking on that each month is good. If it's something where you're looking to achieve your goal within like 3 months, then you might want to revisit it every couple of weeks, make sure you're still on track. If you miss a specific deadline, I personally readjust my plan each time because I don't want to get so far off that now I'm feeling discouraged from achieving that ultimate goal, right? Because if I'm missing milestones along the way and now I feel like I'm missing every milestone, right? It's a lot more likely to kick you off track and then make you feel, unmotivated to keep going. So I personally like to adjust it each time. If I miss one and I know it's going to push the next one out by a couple weeks, I'm just going to go ahead and adjust that. So that's my approach, but that's a great question.
And I will just wrap it up here, Erin, with one more question we always like to ask here at DreamBank. What's next for you, Erin? Is there a dream you are currently pursuing?
Thanks for asking that. So I just had my second baby in May. So I took a little step back from my business for a few months or a couple months, and I'm just now starting to get back into everything. So I'm not back where I started, but I've taken a step back. And so I'm in the process of getting this development plan back in place for myself now and looking for more clients and more work at this point. And if anyone wants to keep up with where I'm going, Instagram, I'm on there, Erin McVan Learning. I post a lot of leadership development content. So if you're interested in something like that, definitely stay connected with me there.
Oh, and let's see, I did see one more question come through here. It looks like we have enough time, so we'll go ahead with it. What if my perceived area of strength is suddenly not as strong as I thought? Should I abandon that dream or keep pushing to learn more?
Ooh, that's a great question. So if it's not as strong as you thought, but you still consider it a strength or a skill that you have, right? I say keep pushing to learn more, because if you already have some knowledge and skills in that area, right? It's not like you're starting completely from scratch. So maybe you need to give yourself a little bit more grace and time in order to achieve that goal. But I think you keep pushing. So yeah, that's a great question. Don't abandon your dream.
Definitely. All right. So we will go ahead and wrap up. Erin, thank you so much for sharing your time, resources, and insights with us today. Again, for those of you who weren't able to access the resources in the chat, I will send them out in a post-event email. But to everyone who tuned in, we're grateful for your participation. It's through your engagement that we continue to learn, grow, and chase our dreams together. Remember, you can discover more about our upcoming DreamBank events and access content crafted to inspire and support your aspirations on our website. And if you're interested in revisiting this event or exploring past ones, our YouTube channel is the place to be. I've truly enjoyed learning with all of you today, and I'm excited about the opportunity to connect again at our next DreamBank event. Thank you all and take care.
Thank you, everyone.